Alrighty, before we jump into actually creating your first campaign, I just want to explain the Facebook business manager setup. There's a lot of stuff here. Not all of them are necessary. You could click around and sort of check it for yourself. We'll cover I'll briefly explain to you what is important, what is useful, and what is relevant for you. So the most important one is the ads manager. That's the one we're going to be using here to set up the ads. That's the sort of the main place where you create the ads, you watch the ads, you adjust them, the campaigns and the ads and everything. So the whole structure will be in there, what we spoke about. Then the second important thing is the automated rules. Now this will allow you to create rules that will make sure that you don't spend too much money, and that's very important, right? So you can set up a rule that says, for example, if an ad is more expensive than $3, turn off the ad. Or if my ad set is on average has a price that's more than $3, decrease the budget by 50%. So it's very good as a sort of protection, so you don't blow your money. The first protection we're going to have is a daily limit, daily budget you can spend. So that sort of makes sure you don't spend any money. But if you're spending, more, let's say if you're spending 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, a couple $100, it's good to have the automated rules to protect you. Then the next one is attribution. This is a bit more advanced and may not be relevant for everybody, but basically if you have the Facebook SDK implemented and you have either a subscription app or what is really, really good with the attribution is that the attribution will tell you not only which people clicked on the ad and got the installs, but which people, so which specific campaign and which specific ad sets drove all the revenue, because it's not always clear. And attribution on Facebook is a brand new thing, so this is still in beta. You have to apply for it. Right, so that's a brand new thing created by Facebook. There's some other companies were doing it before, now they're doing it over here. So it's still in beta, so you have to go and click on it and apply, and then you'll see. Okay, the next part that you really need is audiences. So in audiences, if you have some email addresses, you already have some customers, this is where you can really take advantage of the power of Facebook and Instagram. Inside audiences, you can create what is called custom audiences and lookalike audiences. So custom audiences are audiences based on people who take certain actions within, let's say, your Instagram profile or within your app or your website, right? So you could say, I want to create a custom audience of all the people who have sent me a message on Instagram. And you'll create that audience and then use that audience to run ads, right? So you can target this audience. Or you can say, show me all the people that have, for example, downloaded my app, have taken certain action, but have not subscribed to my premium. So I want to target them as well. Or all my website visitors, or all people that have seen my videos, right? So you do all of that in audiences, and we'll go through it as well. But let's start in the ads manager. So those are the four, did I say so? Ads manager, automated rules, attribution, and audiences. The four things that are really important. And I'm assuming that you have the basic business setup, right? So there's the business settings and the settings. So you need to get the app up and running. There's simple step-by-step instructions inside Facebook with the documentation, so you can just set it up. I'm assuming that you have the basic setups ready. So we're going to jump into creating ads. All right, so this is what it looks like when you have no ads created. This is the basic setup. And you can see now the overview of, we have the campaigns, ad sets, and the ads, right? That's the structure that we have discussed. So let's start by creating an ad. And there's two main ways to do it. You can do the simplified, so it's called the quick creation. I'm gonna leave this page. Basically shows you an overview, and this is a very simplified version. Now this is one way to do it, but we're gonna go do it the fully comprehensive experience, because that's where you can really sort of get very nitty-gritty and really take advantage. So let's start out by explaining you the different objectives for the ads. So you can see there's three main categories of the objectives: is the awareness, consideration, and the conversions. Now we are gonna go with app installs, and this is the most powerful and the best one to start off with. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can look at it yourself. The important point is that with app installs, you're going to be able to, obviously the objective is to get people to install your app, and Facebook will optimize for app installs. If you give it a different objective, for example, brand awareness, Facebook will automatically optimize to show your ad to most people, as many people as possible for the lowest amount of price, but not necessarily people that will download your app, right? So this is the first and a very important decision you're going to make, is that you choose the app installs, and for that you need to have the Facebook SDK, so we have all the proper events, right? So this is the first and main setup. After you have the Facebook SDK integrated, you can move on to creating the right objective. What you select here is the app install, just a name. We got a split test. So that basically means if you want to have different creatives inside of it to test it. I'm not using this very often. I know at the beginning you will not need it. One thing that I do recommend is the budget optimization. This is very important, and it's very useful for two reasons. Number one, right now you saw it wasn't selected by default, but I think by September 2019, Facebook has announced that they will have this as default on all the campaigns, and you will not be able to unclick it or do it otherwise. So this will be a forced option. So it's good to start using it now, and they're using it as forced option because it is better. And I've run many tests with different campaigns, and what this basically says, if you remember the campaign structure, it says that, so you have, let's say you have 5 ad sets inside one campaign, right? So this will basically say that I want you, Facebook, to optimize and give the biggest budget to the cheapest ad sets inside of my campaign. So I don't have to go in manually and watch which ad set is the cheapest or is the best performing, because these prices change, like I said, several times an hour. So you can't, and 24/7, right? So you can't sit there and constantly optimize. So the best way to do it is to select the optimization. It's going to work for you. And I've tested it many times. This does work better than any human can optimize. It happens not in real time, but it's almost in real time. And then you select the daily budget. There's obviously lifetime as well. I would recommend daily, because if you set a lifetime budget of, let's say, $100, but you have very bad ads, you can blow through all of it in one day. So set up your daily budget. I have it in a local currency here, but you can set up. You'll have it in whatever is your currency. I would recommend testing it. Obviously low, but not too low, because you need the Facebook algorithms. They will optimize. They're trying to deliver the best performance for you, right? So they're trying to make money as well. And if you have good cheap ads, you're gonna stay there and pay more money. So they have the algorithms, but they are not immediate. It's not instant. It takes a couple days or a couple hours, depending on the size of your budget, for Facebook to actually learn what you're trying to accomplish, what's the objective, and find the right people. It's hard to say what is the ideal budget. I would say, you have to be aware that the first couple days you might be, it's what I call a testing budget, which means you might not get immediate results. You're gonna try it out. So if you can do, for your entire campaign, if you can do $10 a day, try that out and then see how it goes. Let's say we'll just set 100 krona here, and the bidding strategist says, what do you want to bid on? I would always go with the lowest cost that just performs the best. Okay, so now we have actual ad created, the campaign created, and now we're going to select the ad sets and the ads. You can select different apps that you have. Let's go with an iOS app as an example. We'll do this one, which is an old app that I was running, but we'll use it as an example. So you start up with the ad set name. Now the naming convention is not all that important, and this stage is just for you to know what you're doing where, right? So there is the ad set name as an option. If you choose the dynamic creative, what it says is that let's say you have 5 images and you have a couple of different headlines that you want to try out. So the dynamic creative they'll mix the images and the headlines, and they'll sort of make combinations for you that are best performing. Now, in my experience right now, this is not the best solution. It doesn't work so well yet. Google has the same option on the universal app campaigns, and there it works really, really good. Google's machine learning algorithms are, in my subjective experience, better, and they just tend to perform way better. So I would not suggest using the dynamic creatives, but you can try it out, with one of your campaigns. All right, I've just noticed that actually this app hasn't received any app events. Like I said, it's an old app, but you don't have to worry about that. If you have the Facebook SDK implemented, you will not see this box. This is not relevant for the demo. So we'll skip that. Now we have the catalog option, so you can select different catalogs and products from which you'll create the ad, but that's not necessary at the beginning, so we can skip that. Okay, now we have the audiences, and this is the most important part of the entire campaign setup, I would say. From my experience, this is the biggest influence on the performance of your ad. So it selected Denmark as a default location. I'm going to delete that real quick. Now you can't target the whole world. You have to select specific regions, right? So if you remember at the beginning when I was talking about the different audiences, I said that you can save an audience. So for example, all the people that they visited your website but have not installed the app yet. You save those as an audience, and this is something you can use in here as well. We'll get to that. So you have custom audiences, which means that your previously created custom and lookalike audiences. That's the type of audience that you've selected. So here's a sample audience. I'm not sure if it's lookalike or custom. This was, okay, it's a custom audience. So I just said that I want to create a audience of people that have visited a website, and it puts all the people into this category. Now what you can do, and where Facebook is very, very powerful, is to create lookalike audiences, which means I want Facebook to tell me people or show this ad to people that look like this audience but are not exactly them, right? So this only works if you have about 10,000 contacts in your custom audience. So if you have 10,000 visitors or email addresses, do it so you can take advantage where lookalike becomes really powerful. But we'll dive into that a bit later on. Hey, I just wanted to give you a quick update. First of all, I apologize about the loud music. I'm sitting in a very loud hotel lobby. But I just had a meeting with Facebook and I spoke with them about the custom audiences and lookalike audiences. In the video I mentioned you need at least 10,000 contacts to create a custom audience. Turns out what they told me is that the most effective custom audiences are anywhere between 1,000 to 50,000 contacts. So if you have as low as only 1,000 emails or contacts, you can import into creating custom audience. That is the most effective way to do it. So yeah, just want to give you a quick update. It's March 2019. This might change over time, and I'll make sure to update you. But right now, Facebook is saying that as low as 1,000 contacts is enough to create a custom audience. So let's start with the location. Let's just assume we're going after the United States. Make sure you select the country. And you could do multiple. So let's say we wanted to also do Canada. You could also do that. But I usually select one specific location on a target. You can do age, obviously. In my experience, it's better to leave the age and gender and languages open unless there's some very important specifications. So I told you, this goes against what I was saying earlier, that you don't know your audience and target them directly. But specifically on Facebook, the algorithm is so good and so efficient that it would be better to leave it open like this. So for example, let's say this is a language learning app that we have selected, this one, right? So, and it's meant for college students. So the ideal age would be, 17, 18 to 20, let's say. And if I would select that audience, it would be probably too small by the definition of Facebook if we did this. It's still pretty large because it's the United States, but we'll see. It's still too broad. Okay. But based on my experience, if you leave it open and you leave it at maximum 65, it will have cheaper prices. Now, I'm not sure why exactly that is, but in my experience, this is the truth. Unless for some reason you really cannot or do not want to target people, going to absolutely avoid targeting people that are above that age, then you select your age target accordingly. But I found out that Facebook will not target to somebody that's 60, even though this says 65 plus, if my app is best for college-aged people, right? Same with men and women. Obviously, if you have specific male only or women only, female only, probably you do that in the languages. So if you want to say, speak only English in the US, it will exclude all the, for example, Spanish-speaking people. So that's, in my experience, what I would recommend is starting off and always having one, what I call a wide campaign. So a campaign where you say, all I want is everybody in the United States, everything else open. So I don't specify any other age, gender, language, no detailed targeting, no connect, no nothing. I would just leave it open. And to my surprise, even if you have fairly niche product, it's not for everybody, this tends to be cheaper and better performing than some of the other campaigns, but it's not always the case. So you need to test it out, right? But just something, I would always have at least one ad set that's completely open and what I call a wide ad set. All right, next we have targeting. So this is where you can select some of the detailed targeting. And this is fascinating how specific you can go, right? So let's browse. You can obviously type in and then see, but you can have different demographic targeting, so different education levels, and you could say, different financial levels, income levels, household income. So you could say, I want everybody that's household income is in the top 10 to 25% of zip codes in the United States. And it'll show me, it's 21 million people that are in that category. So this is a fairly high income individual, high income families. So if you have some specific targeting, only for those people it's relevant, try it out. Again, have one wide audience, but you can try this one out. I'm not gonna go through all of them because there's obviously a lot of these, but let's see what else is here. Anything important? Life events are actually pretty cool. You can target specific anniversaries, anniversary within 30 days. How cool is that? If you have any, birthdays, you can have somebody's birthday coming up. Friends, if somebody's newly engaged, if you have any wedding related products, that's fantastic. Parents, if you have new parents, their affiliation relationship. So you can target all the people that are single, for example, work. So that's one category of demographic. The second is interest-based, and this is also pretty cool. So you could say everybody that likes action games. So if you have a game, you can target these people specifically. The best thing to do is for you just go through all of these and then read them out. Behavior is also very fascinating. What kind of detailed targeting you can have, so you could look at all the expats that have lived in Brazil. So you can go very, very detailed and you can target people. Would include, and then even more importantly, you could say, I want to exclude somebody, right? So I don't want any Democrats in the targeting, and you could, select that specifically as well. So you can exclude people. What I would really recommend, once you hit a certain scale and stage, you want to exclude everybody that's already downloaded your app. You can also do that by creating the custom audiences and putting it in here and say, I do not want to target, because sometimes once you run ads long enough, you'll keep displaying the same ads to the same people, and you're just wasting money that way. And then we have different connections. So if somebody who's liked your Facebook page, people who have actually used your app, friends of people who used your app, you should try some of these out. In my experience, these are not as powerful, but you can set up different ad sets and see if it performs. The next part is the placements. So we're going to start off with automatic. That just means that this ad will be showed on all the different placements that are available. And the placements that are available are Facebook, Instagram, audience networks, and Messenger. So you can select which ones you want. In my experience, you are best off with doing automatic at the beginning, or I would highly recommend trying out doing only Instagram stories. So like I mentioned, the different ways to get the creative assets. So you can get some, you can just get an ad where you talk to the camera, and that tends to perform very well. So in terms of the cost, you should try out having Instagram story ads only, because there will be a different price for different placements as well. And that's something you should check out afterwards and see what works and what doesn't work. But we're gonna leave it as automatic for now, just for ease. We selected iOS, so it has iOS by default. And let's say I only have an iPhone app, so I'll select iPhone only. And let's say I have some new feature that uses, let's say, AR or something that requires a new phone, so I'll select latest version, right? The rest of it, you don't really have to worry about. We're optimizing for app installs. Now, once you have more users, you can optimize something more interesting. So optimize for people that have subscribed, or optimize for people that have taken some actions. So you can get more granular in there, and a lot of details we're not going to cover right now because they're more advanced. But the basic setup, you don't have to touch anything here. Just go ahead and click continue. So now we've created a campaign and we have one ad set, and now we're going to add one creative in there. So you can select which Facebook page is going to be represented as the one where it's coming from. So we're going to select, let's say this one. This is a one Facebook page that I was running, and that Facebook page will represent your ad. Now, obviously, if you have a Facebook page for your business, so if you have an app called whatever surfing community, then you would have a Facebook page called surfing community, and obviously you want to have that in there, but you have the option to select it differently. Then there's image, video, or a carousel. Carousel just means they will show more than one ad. This is great for e-commerce, for example. If you're showing, you want to display several products, you usually use that. What I have best experience with apps is using single images or video. Now, this is where you can actually add your creative. So you can have either image or a video. And we talked about different ways to getting the video. So you can upload it directly from your computer, or you can use the library that you have. There's also different ways you can click around. There's also a bunch of a sort of default templates that you can use in here and have the different images. But let's just say we would have this image, which was the ad that was running here. Previously, this was a AI-based chatting app, so we had a sort of ad that looked like a chat in there. You can also have stock free images, so you can add that if you want as well. But basically, once you have the basic setup, you can add. We were targeting specifically Danish-speaking people for the tutor. So the next options are the text, headline, and the call to action, or the CTA. So not all of these will be visible on all the placements. If you're doing Instagram story video ads, only some of them will be visible, and only some of them will be selected, right? So if you're doing a story ad, there's no text that you see, you only see the actual video, but you should fill them up so you have them as backup anyways. Now, it's really, you should be able to try to explain your app or the product in the simplest possible way. So here we say this is the fastest way to learn Danish. It's easy to understand because it resonates with people that were trying to learn Danish. And then you have also the headline. So here was default, Speak Danish, Talk Ninja, which was the name of the app. You'd select it into a different headline if there was something, relevant. And also the call to action. So you could do, subscribe for apps. It's obviously download or install now is the best. My experience, install actually works the best from all of them. So important thing to know, to mention here is that there's a lot of different settings and a lot of different options, and it could be very overwhelming. Let me just go ahead and create this one. I'll confirm this. All right, so now we've published the one campaign with one ad set and one ad inside of it. Like I said, there's a tons of settings, and there really isn't a silver bullet or a secret recipe. The best thing I could recommend is start off with one campaign. Then create a couple of ad sets that you think are relevant. Do one wide campaign, do one campaign where you have more specific targeting. So you could do behavioral based, interest based. If you have custom audiences and you can create lookalike audiences, definitely try one of those as well. You can try a different ad set with a different placement, for example. So just create, maybe 3 ad sets. We set the daily budget over here at the campaign level. So my budget, if it was, let's say, $10, it doesn't matter how many ad sets you have here, you'll only pay $10, no more. And how I would do this is that I would create my base ad set. So let's say we have this one. Actually, I want to change the name because it was something else. It was in the US, and it was what I would call the wide ad set, right? Because we were targeting sort of everybody. Now you'll see that it says in preview. It takes Facebook a couple minutes, sometimes a couple hours to approve your ad. They actually, check it. I'm not sure if it's manually or if it's some computer vision, but they do check that. So it'll take a couple hours until it's released, and then you get a notification once it's up and running. But let's say we have this one US-wide campaign. What I would do is click duplicate, and I would say I want to duplicate into the original campaign because I want to create more ad sets. Like I said, you can A/B test, but in my experience, it doesn't work always very well. But you can test it out as well. So, and let's say I want to have a total of 5 ad sets. So I will duplicate it 4 times, and it's going to pop up over here. I'm going to mention this. And so you can see it created 4 new duplicates. I'm going to go into the first one, and let's say this one, I want it to be interest based. So I'll say interest, can't spell. interest based, right? And then I would go down and I would change the target into interests. Let's say it was business and people that are interested in advertising and relevant for me, and then I would do that and I would publish this campaign. So now we have interest based on advertising in our targeting, right? And he published that one ad set. Now it says there's other ads in review. So here's the other ones, and you basically go one by one. The green color, by the way, it shows you the drafts, right? So these are the ad sets they've duplicated, but we have not published them yet, and they're going to be here when they're green. You can review and publish them here. So if I click review and publish, you can see there's 3 of the ad sets, but we have not changed anything here, so we're not going to publish them now. Actually, these are the 3 ads and then the 3 ad sets. And there is errors in there. The thing about Facebook and Instagram and the errors messages here is that it's a very complicated platform and it doesn't always work perfectly. So when there's an error, definitely check it out and see if it's an actual error. But what I discover is that sometimes errors that are not relevant or are not really errors or not actually are just complete mistakes pop up. When the triangle is orange, that means you can publish the ad despite the error. If it's red, dark red, that means you cannot publish the actual ad and you have to change it. So this is more of a warning sign, and I'm going to ignore it for now. And I'm going to actually discard these because you didn't have to see all of them. But so now we have a wide campaign. Oh, this is not, I'm going to change this. It shouldn't be wide. It should just be interest-based. So we have a wide campaign and we have an interest-based campaign, right? And now let's say we would have those 5 ads. And let's go into, so by the way, if you have one ad set selected and you go into the ads, you're going to see all the ads in that one ad set, right? If I deselect this one and I go in here, it'll show me all the ad sets in all the ads in all the ad sets. Sorry, it gets confusing. So we have 2 ad sets and each ad set contains 1 ad, and I see it over here, right? So let's say this was my testing campaign. You know what? Actually, let's duplicate this one and just call it testing. So I'll duplicate it once. Call this one testing. And for testing, I would usually leave it as a wide audience. That seems to be the best, in my experience, representation. So I'll publish this as just wide audience for testing. And we've duplicated, so it's going to already have 1 ad inside of it, right? So now you see this ad. Now, let's say we were running 10 ads in this ad set for testing specifically. And let's say one of them was performing really well. So what you want to do is then duplicate that ad, and I want to say yes into this campaign. We call it the app installs. And what you want to do then is duplicate it into all of the ad sets, because then you take one best performing ad and you duplicate into all of them, but not this one because there's a 10, it's already there by default. So we will only duplicate into all the ad sets that don't have the ad yet. So instead of going in one by one manually, and instead of creating the ad over again, you want to duplicate. And this is seems like a small thing, but if you have 5 campaigns and you have 20 ad sets in each campaign, this will save you a lot of time. And you want to definitely include the comments from existing ad. Now, the important thing is, because if you have a good ad, it will start generating a lot of attention and it will generate a lot of discussions and it'll be very relevant. And this is social proof. So if there's an ad with a lot of engagement on it, it looks like it's relevant, people are commenting and people actually want to be part of the conversation. So you want to make sure that you carry on the comments with you into all the other ads. So I'll duplicate this if there was a lot of ad sets. And then I'll just click on publish, and then it'll publish that specific ad. And now it's a bit confusing because they'll look the same, but if you had different ads, you would see how it works and it would be much more clear. So this is the basic campaign ad set and ad structure. This is how you create your campaigns, and it's how you move forward with them. Now, one thing that's important and that's relevant to know is that when you're going to have